Introducing the Poet Life Podcast. Go check it out today on your favorite platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, and the website, thepoetlife.com.
Find the way.
So how you building this Poet Life thing, my brother? How you building it?
Man, just brick by brick, man. And really excited about it, because before, I was behind the scenes. We talked about this before. I was the puppet master, if you will. I was in the back just making the moves and creating the opportunities and things of that nature. But I was finding that I was a little limited because even though it can be done, right? It didn't seem like it could be done to a certain extent, because I was finding that I needed to be in the place of, or the face of the company, right?
Okay.
So I kind of had to build, I guess, the confidence to do so. Right, because I know that there's a lot that comes with being the face of your company, good and bad, all of the praise, but all of the hate and comments and so on and so forth. And, at the time I wasn't really interested in just battling that, so I figured I'd hire folks, to be the personalities, the podcast, just going here, going there, and I would kind of just set things up.
Okay. Go ahead. No, please continue.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that it wasn't until I got that unction to say, what, let me try this thing out, man, and let me stop stunting my growth.
Okay.
Not wanting to be in the background.
Okay. You said fighting those battles.
Yeah.
The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that is one of the great things about being an entrepreneur is you get to pick and choose your own fights.
Right.
One of the detriments that society holds too many people to and influences them in a really unpositive and unhealthy way is that we tend to think that we have to defend ourselves on things.
Right.
Brother, let me tell you something. I have no interest in putting out fires. Why? Because I don't spark anything.
Right.
I'm deliberate. It's either gonna burn up or there's no fire. There's no middle ground. So there's no necessary. If somebody else is trying to kindle something, or it might seem like somebody wants to be criticizing, you're entitled to want to say whatever you want to say. Anyone who knows my body of work knows what my body of work stands for. And that's one of the things you want to remember as you're building this poet life. Okay. As you continue to build what do we call it? What was it? It is the industry, the poetry industry. As you're working on building the poetry industry, you're not trying to worry about what everybody else has to say.
Yeah.
You're doing what you know to do. Okay. Right. You're doing what you're staying in your lane. And so when other people are trying to veer off in your lane and you trying to, stay in yo,
right.
Let me pull over to the shoulder. You go on by and do what you do, because I ain't driving with you.
Right.
You don't influence what I'm doing.
Right.
And that's very key. That's very important. Yes, I'm a speaker. You know how many other speakers out there? I am not comparing myself to anybody.
Right.
I'm gonna take the best that anyone has to offer, and I'm gonna take the positive feedback. And I'm gonna keep on doing what our kid does. I'm gonna stay in my lane and I'm gonna do what I do.
Right.
And so I want to encourage you to don't worry about putting out fires, because guess what? People who want to smoke and see things go ablaze, that's all what they're going to continue to do anyway.
Right. They're going to do it.
You have a specific purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. Don't worry about everybody else.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And the biggest piece for me is building the relationships.
Let me say this, especially with something that's never been done before. You know how many people are going to have something to say?
I know.
Everybody got something to say. Oh, where you got something to say, but you haven't even gone about doing this before. You mean to tell me you got something to say, but this doesn't even exist yet? Oh, I'm so glad you have so much to say about something that's never been done. Why don't you just keep your mouth closed?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's their high ground from their perspective. Their high ground is you have nothing to reference to say that it can happen.
Right.
Right? Years and years have passed and there haven't been any mainstream poets to say that they have a full-time career in poetry.
Right.
So what makes you think you can? Right. So yeah. No, yeah, man. It's really exciting. I think it was at first I think it was denial for me. I think I was saying that I wanted to play the background partly because of not wanting to face all of the what comes with being famous, if you will, the name and the face.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing was confidence. I didn't know whether or not I had it. I know I don't have a passion for the stage or the passion for the camera. So that was the biggest thing. I wanted to put all my effort into the passion part of it, not necessarily the work. Like this camera stuff, this is work for me, and so I kind of wanted to match passion for passion, where the person who loves the camera and the stage, I would give them that opportunity and I work what I love doing. That's the behind the scenes thing, the building, the creating,
Now, let me ask you this. Do you love performing?
No.
Your pieces? You don't particularly
remember
perform.
That's when we met. Because you love the stage, and I wrote a piece. I can't remember. Salt Potential, was that the one?
Mm-hmm.
And you performed that because. So when I was younger, I had a passion for writing, but I did not have the passion for performing and memorizing the stage, the cameras, and all of this. And so my father was like, "Why don't you?" If you feel like that's not you where your lane is, you're a page poet, not a performance poet. I just learned that word page poet from page poet, the poets who just write. I was like, oh, that works. P and P, that works. All right, so we'll work with that. So I'm a page poet. So he was like, why don't you match passion for passion? People who have passions for the stage and the camera and the lights. With your writing. You have a passion for writing, they have a passion for stage, match made in heaven. Right. And so when Bruce linked me up with you, I was like, hey, let's see if this will work. And it really worked really well. So but I now call them Poetic Productions.
Okay. You know that in my mind, when I think of individuals who are poets, I think of the people that would be critical of someone who doesn't write their own material.
I get that all the time. What are you, shy? What are you scared? It's just not that. It's just not that. Because I'll get on the stage because I have to. I'm the CEO. I have to give remarks and so on and so. So it's not that. I just don't have the passion for it, and I would rather put more of my energy into what I'm passionate about.
Now, isn't this something? I'm sitting here thinking about this, and it almost seems like this. We've seen this. Remember, what was it? Def Jam?
Yeah.
What was it? That was Russell. What's his name?
Def Poetry Jam.
Def Poetry Jam. What was his name again? Russell
Simmons.
Russell Simmons. He was that behind the scenes guy that never wanted to
look, he wouldn't even give remarks at the end. He would just say, thanks for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you, God bless. That was it.
And I loved it. I was like, oh, I can do that.
And he's the one that put all of that together.
And he put all of that together.
I got you.
So that's where I got it from. When my events modeled after Def Poetry Jam. I would galvanize poets from here and there and bring them into one place. And that's where Fighting Cancer with Poetry came. And that's what this shirt is, Fighting Cancer with Poetry. Right. So I was like, man, he's not even giving remarks at the end. He's just like, hey, this is me. This is what I've developed. I've built, and have a good night. Thanks for coming. But
we can make sure this part, let's just edit everything about him. American entrepreneur, record executive, writer, film producer. Simmons has been accused of serious sexual misconduct, and it's all by 20 women who stepped down. So,
just... yeah. Same with Bill Cosby, and at the same time, you can't deny their work, though.
No,
you can't deny their work.
That's just using wisdom.
Yeah.
That's just using wisdom. That's a personal.
Because they could say the same thing about him. Why don't you, be out there more? You built this and blah blah blah. He's like, look, like you said, he's staying in his lane. That's not his strength. His strength is building it.
Right.
But the hard part with being behind the scenes is trusting these people that you put
that's key
in the forefront.
The scripture says, how can two walk together unless they agree?
Right.
That is very important in all facets of life, especially business.
Right.
Because business is what's going to feed your family. Business is what's going to help you leave your legacy.
Right.
And if you don't have two people of like ideologies,
right,
one person's going in one direction, the other person's going in another direction, and at some point that thing's going to pull it apart at the threads.
Right.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
So this and so the arts is very eclectic, if you will.
Right.
And so you're going to get people from so many from diverse backgrounds and everything else, but what you have to make sure as you continue to build it is the foundation. The foundation's got to be rooted.
Yeah, and I've been able to do that. At my core, I make sure I keep my brain clean. And I get somewhat criticized for when I say my brain clean, as in, everyone that comes on the platform knows there's no cursing, there's no derogatory language, all of that, and they agree to it. Now there are limitations to that, or I don't want to say hindrances. I'll say this: because there's no cursing and things of that nature, there are certain events and projects that I won't work on, right? Okay. Like there won't be a Poet Life open mic for me, because I can't control what the poet may say.
Okay.
I've been in that. I tried that, and no offense to the poets that go that route, but again, that's not the route I'm taking, right? I want my brand to be a family. I want the kids and the moms and the dads to be able to consume, our content, and the church folks and the, right.
Yes.
And so, but I will do a showcase. And the reason why that works for me is because the artists, the poets that will perform have to submit what they're performing. So there's no surprises. So that really works for me, and so there's nuances to this whole thing. Now, if I was just wide open and I just said, hey, it's the Poet Life, anybody and everybody, let's flow and let's go, it would be a different story.
Yes, it would be.
Yeah. So, but I still believe that I can build it to a high level. Because think about it, TV, you can't go on TV cursing like you're crazy, and so I try to keep it at that level. Not only family and friends, but when things do blow, I want, if I'm being interviewed and they ask, do you have any footage that we can show during your interview? You can show all my footage. All my footage is clean.
That's good. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's
Yes.
no picking and choosing that they have to say, oh man, yeah, we can't use that one. That's too, so that's how I'm kind of cultivating this culture over here.
Okay. That as I'm reminding myself, because even in my speaking, and scripture tells me in Ephesians 4:29 to not let any unwholesome talk come from your mouth, but only what is helpful to build up according to what individuals might need, and that it would benefit those who listen. See, that last part is the key part.
Right.
It's got to be something that's going to edify you. It's got to build you up. We have enough of tearing down. There's enough tearing down going on. My objective is to always lift up, to add value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with poetry, it moves to the heart of a person.
Right.
I mean, poetry is a very unique art form, and it's very admirable because, contrary to popular belief, you might say anybody can learn to write poetry. In the minds of those who listen to y'all, it's like, man, I can't do that.
Right.
How would you go about teaching that to, let's say, the layperson, the person who doesn't consider himself a poet? How would you, I know you go into the schools and you use poetry when you mentoring younger students and what have you. How do you go about teaching them how to write poetry?
Well, for me, I'm not necessarily the educator as it relates to poetry. I hire poets who are educators, who have experience in teaching and interpersonal skills. Now, I have taught some poetry.
You was in South Korea.
Yes,
English.
I was using. Now they were 3 and 4. So I was using poetry that was already presented, right? To help them. It's the same as if you're teaching somebody to read. You're using books that have already been written. You know what I mean? So, and so in that regard, I can use already, rhythms that, like for instance, the nursery rhymes and things. Just change the words. So in that respect, that works for me, and that but now when it comes to the education part, because I value quality, I make sure that I link with poets who also have experience in the classroom.
Okay.
A lot of poets are educators as well because they're good with words, and that's the kind of how they link it up. Yeah. So and schools and school systems and organizations love to see that resume appeal as well. So when I come to the school and say, hey, I don't just have poets, I have poets who are educators who most are certified as educators, and they just love that because you can bring a poet in and they're a poet, but to have that skill set as an educator and can break that thing down to a person that can't understand is on another level. Yeah.
Industry.
Yes, that's exactly.
When you look at this from an industrial point of view, you just, when you said that, it triggered something.
Right.
When you're dealing with leadership, when you have an individual who might be certified in leadership and they happen to be poets also,
right? You
can allow a person to take, again, I'm looking at multifaceted components that might allow for greater corporate penetration.
Yeah.
You're taking a person, like, for example, I'm a Scrum Master, I'm Lean Six Sigma certified, I'm an Agile certified practitioner. All of these are Project Management Institute lean methodologies. Well, now wait, a lot of them are social dynamics and a lot of them are process oriented. If you can take a person who can use poetry to tap into a different rhythmic component of the culture,
right?
From a lean perspective, how can I use poetry to influence lean? Because it's not done. You don't have someone who goes into the corporate boardroom and go ahead and start using poetry. You talking about a process improvement in Lean Six Sigma.
Shoot, I have an example for you. Haiku. Haiku.
Uh-huh.
How small a haiku is. 3 lines. That's haiku is lean poetry. Haiku is lean poetry.
Oh.
So you would think a haiku is easy to write. There's 3 lines, only 3 lines. The first line is 5 syllables. So you have to construct the poem. Let me finish. First line is 5 syllables. Second line is 7 syllables. Third line is 5 again, 5, 7, 5. So you have to make sense.
Oh my goodness.
You have to precisely.
How many haikus do you have?
Oh man, that's what I write. If
okay.
you go to Christoph Wright, that's what you see.
So check. Bruh, you need to go get a lean certification. Put all your haikus in them and talk about lean, whatever your certification name is, for poets. You've just established yourself as a residential expert, not only because you have the lean certification, but I'm also doing lean poetry.
Now, wait, hold on. Say that with that.
You ain't even got to call it.
You said 4 poets or 4.
Whatever you want. I'm drawing parallels. You got to take this and apply it as you see best fit.
Man, listen.
Bruh. All right, let's use me as an example.
Right.
Say I'm Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certified. I have Agile certified I'm a certified Agile practitioner and a certified Scrum Master. All of that is lean.
Right.
Oh, and just say, because I am this lean expert, I'm going to write a lean poetry book. But it's just called haiku. But they're haikus. It already exists. I'm just renaming it with another corporate penetrating thing. Yo, like you just said haikus is lean poetry. Okay. Well, those in lean don't know what haikus are.
Well, let me before you go further, let me ask you, is it the purpose to get them in the mindset of thinking lean?
It could be. It could be poetry that is lean based. It could be a mixture of all of it. It could just be a target for individuals who are in that space, but they at heart are poets. I mean, I don't know any stuff like if you did find a study out there that surveys 1,000 people who are in engineering who like poetry. Oh, word? There's that many of y'all? But y'all not even. But that's technical. That's not arts. That's science. How you are in the sciences, but you love poetry? Well, if you didn't know the need was there, you never try to produce something for it. But you already have the product. And it's called haikus, but rewrite the name. And that's where the creativity of putting a name on it is like, again, we're talking about an industry. We're talking about penetration deep into different facets of industry.
Disruption.
Yeah. I mean, like what is it? I said to myself that my personal book, I was going to finish the first draft by the end of June.
Right.
I finished on July 1. Okay. Draft number 1. When you set a goal for a specific outcome, and this is something that's leveraged all across the board. I always talk about this in the different videos that I talk about when I'm talking about planning. Our people, one thing that we know is our people perish for a lack of knowledge. We have a vision, make it plain, and write it down. Because if you don't have the vision written down, it's just a dream. And I don't know about you, but you have probably, I don't know about you, but I have probably forgotten more dreams than I can remember.
Right.
Because I didn't write it down.
Yeah.
But when you write the dream down, now you've got something to hold on to it. And when it's executed, you have such good documentation of this vision. You can die. Once someone else reads your journal, they now have your vision and they can actually bring that thing to pass. That's how important having the vision is. That's how important documentation of what you want to do is. That's why planning is critical.
Yeah.
It's critical. Planning in stages, planning in phases, planning to such a degree that, segment the market, segment the different industrial markets that you possibly could see penetration in, and then begin to have discussions about them. Because like you're sitting here talking about haikus, lean. Whoa. Well, now wait a minute. I already have something. I already have a whole bunch of haikus. Again, now the conversation would attempt to figure out how can we use this lean, because it's condensed word. It's not a lot of verbiage. Because here's the thing about poetry for those who aren't poets. It can be difficult to understand.
Right.
Trying to connect the similes and metaphors, but if haikus are that small and that lean, they can't be that complex.
Right.
Because you don't have time to tell a story.
One of my previous jobs, because we were contractors, we weren't necessarily allowed into the Lean Six Sigma training like the govies were, the government employees.
Yes.
However, I snuck in a little bit. I snuck in because I wanted to learn. And I got found out, but at the same time, but I was there for the first class. And one of the biggest things that they were trying to get across is changing your mindset to thinking lean. Because when you go into a room or when you get on a project, that is what they're looking for you to do to save them money.
Yes.
So and recently I learned the word brevity, and that is the ability to shorten, say, your poem, because you're not given a lot of time. Say your poem is 5 minutes, but hey, this TV show wants you to shorten that same poem into 2.5 minutes or 1 minute. So keeping it short and to the point is brevity. Yeah, you got my mind rolling and working now, man. This is because I have to stay in that mindset of industry and finding ways to add value
and penetrate other markets.
Yes.
And using poetry to penetrate other markets.
Yes.
Because, man.
But those are good workshops for companies. Those are very. So not only is lean an important skill set, but creativity in the workspace.
So that's it. That's it. So if you're in a workspace and you're in a workspace, say you're in manufacturing. Manufacturing is all about lean, eliminating waste. It's called, the Japanese word is muda.
Right.
Okay. When you eliminate this waste, so if you're going in a company and they're all about lean and your objective is to help foster creativity. Right. It might be to team build. And I think you alluded to this before. Definitely can bring on in the poetry, but it's not just poetry. It's lean poetry. And now you're it's like you're talking about something new. No, you're not. Everybody knows what poetry is, but no, you are now the resident expert because you're bringing in a haiku, but you're calling it lean poetry.
Oh my.
And so now what they're tasked to do is to, in these small, short lines, I want you to describe your day. I want you to describe your daily task in 3 lines using lean poetry.
And within those 3 lines, it still has to be constructed into 5 syllables,
Yeah.
7 syllables, 5 syllables.
Can you
So
give me an
you
example?
would have to say it in a way.
Can you give me an example, please?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Please do. Go ahead.
real simple. My lean poetry. What did you say the definition of lean was again?
Streamlining.
No, what did you say?
Process.
Wait, what did you say about waste?
Muda.
Okay, you said muda, but you also said removing waste. Oh no,
Yeah, muda is the Japanese eliminating waste is what muda
eliminating.
means. Yeah.
My lean poetry eliminates waste in the corporate workspace. Ah, that's one. I missed one. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. But but you see, it's not. All right, let me write it down real quick. You got to think.
And it has to be 5. It has to be 5, not
5
7, right?
syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. So 17
Okay.
altogether.
All right, let me give it a try.
Yeah.
My Kaizen efforts leads to process improvement.
There you go.
And increases
Where you going?
revenue.
You want to add two haiku?
I done cooled the haiku.
Yeah. So look, you see how we're laughing?
Exactly.
So it adds.
And what I just did was talk about my day today. That's what I just did. I just tried to do that in real time, and it actually made me. I'm I'm like, oh man, how can I? Oh,
right.
So
but then look, that's 101. That's just all right. Let me make it 575. But then, how do you make it clever? How do you make it clever then? All right, cool. You did 575. Take that and make it creative, more creative than you did. It's real simple, elementary right now. My lean poetry. All right, let's get philosophical. Let's use the terminology that you know, as opposed to the elementary level words that you just used. You have to incorporate at least 2. So that's the workshop. That's the team building. But not only haiku, but you hear this a lot at open mics. Community poetry, where you have to work as a team, where one person writes one line, the next person writes the second line, third person writes the third line, right? You have to make, say for instance, I asked you to explain something as relates to lean poetry, and each person has to come up with the line, and the poem in full has to make sense. That's a community poem, as you all put it, and you can puzzle piece it together. If her line makes sense for it to be at the first line, then cool, not a problem. It doesn't have to be who did it first, who wrote it first. But it's like after you have, each person has written their lines, you can then kind of puzzle piece it together for it to make sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a way too. But I would go in with a plan and probably stick with the haiku and kind of have two classes to choose from, the haiku one or the community poem one. You know what I'm saying?
or you make more of.
Yeah.
Now you give yourself this tool belt of different things that you can pick from at any given time. One of the things I have what is it called? I have a teaching demo on Monday at 10 a.m. with one of the local colleges here, and they want to bring me on as one of their leadership training instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're giving me, they want me to demo anything of my choice. Okay. And the purpose of me mentioning that was anything of my choice. So I got to have a bag of goodies that I can pick from at any given time. And in your case, we're talking about poet industry. We're talking about industry and inserting poetry into it. The industries already exist.
They already exist.
We're just carving a space where poetry can be inserted into the industries that already exist, because otherwise you'd be working backwards. I want to create a poetry music or poetry arts, poetry engineering. No. The industries that you want already exist.
Right.
Now you just need to create the substance to infuse poetry in it. So the target, it's like what's called a strategic market assessment. If you have a product and you want to bring it to market, you have to do a strategic market assessment to know what your target audience is. Is it even viable in this particular area, and so forth and so on. In this case, pick 5 industries, just pick them, and say, where can we infuse poetry in it and how?
Technology.
There you go. There's one. What about in the medical field?
Ooh.
Okay. What does it look like? Are we talking about people who are terminal? Or are we talking about people who are rehabilitating? Are we talking about
that medical piece?
Yeah.
Because listen, art therapy.
Now, mind you, we're not talking about poets. We're talking about those in the medical industry who happen to love poetry.
Yeah. But listen, even people that don't.
Yes. But you see what I'm getting at? You're repudiating the industry with your expertise already. It's a soft entry. It's easy disruption because you're already in it. Hey, I've got this idea. It's easy for Dr. Rogers to present this idea in the manufacturing or the engineering or the university or the technical space because I'm already in it. It's easy penetration.
Right.
And guess what? Now that I've penetrated, come on, guys. Come on, get in there. We've already opened the door. The door's already being opened. Now we have to make sure that the quality comes in, because the reality is I enjoy poetry. I want to do that. I actually enjoy my career. But we're soft penetrating. We're getting in the door. And so identify these 5 different areas and say, we can go here. We can go here. What about hospitality? You know, it's a little funny right now with COVID and everything, but when you're thinking of, I'm thinking of restaurants, hotels, chains, stuff, hospitality industries. What's big in the hospitality industry would be team building. Hello, poetry's all the way right there.
Not only that though, but when you say hospitality, through their messaging to their residents.
There you go. There you go.
Because everybody in a industry has a message.
Could you imagine if you did, if the penetration got in the hospitality industry where you were doing what you had some kind of gig where you were with their employees and the task was for everyone to come up with a corporate related haiku. You might have the corporate haiku on the website because it came from their own people.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then that becomes a branded slogan for the company. Really? I didn't think that was going to come out of it. Oh, it just came out of my session though. You know what I mean? You get to pull out all of the creativity within the organization. Who knows what can happen?
You know how Facebook has a bunch of America's Got Talent video clips, right? It has millions of views. And mostly the ones that they're tear jerkers or just like really exciting or get the gold buzzer. I just watched one like a few hours ago, and it was of this choir. I can't remember what state, but it was this choir of people who are experiencing homelessness, and it was like a safe place of refuge, and they've used that choir to become an organization to help homeless people or people experiencing homelessness. I don't like using homeless people, giving them a title. Again, a safe space and a way to escape, but also escape the streets. And so the song that they sang was a song that they wrote in a writing session. That made me think of them when you spoke of the company writing their own corporate haiku.
And again, there's so many different ways to tailor it. You can use your own language, which might make it seem a little more novel to them, or you could use their language, which makes it seem totally relevant to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way, you're accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah. So would you say it's more effective if we did a session and they formulated the haiku, or if they hired the writer, the poet, to write their haiku? Probably for team building purposes, team, yes. That gets you into the organization as opposed to just offering the service, and that's the end of your relationship.
I think exactly.
Yes.
When you fostered this creativity, you endeared yourself to them. They're like, yeah, can we get a referral?
Right.
Because that's the way you also get yourself penetration, is that you let me find out another word for penetration here. Let me look it up. I don't like it. This is just penetration.
Yeah, I know.
Let me look up a synonym.
Get your thesaurus. Get your thesaurus popping.
Shoot. Piercing, puncturing, puncture, stabbing, prick, pricking, probing.
All of them are terrible.
Tailing.
All of them are terrible.
Shoot.
Probing, stabbing.
Seepage. Entry? Yeah, a soft entry.
Hey, it's late. It's late. Nothing comes good off the late night, man.
Oh, praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Just use the word penetration and keep it corporate, Hey, keep it holy.
You can't use penetration in the corporate world, boy. They're like, I feel violated. Oh, shoot.
Oh, man. That's funny. But no, yeah, that's good, man. So my plan is just based off that. So let me ask you, right?
Yeah.
What offering is that considered? Is that considered team building?
I throw it on team building when you're dealing with that. It could, I would say team building.
So in that service catalog, should that be separate? Should the corporate services be separate from the other stuff, or should that be like just one of the offerings in this service catalog?
Say that one more time, please.
Like, all right, so you have a service catalog, right? And basically you say who you are, what you've done, pictures and stuff like that, vision, mission and all of that. But then you have your services, and within your services, our services, we speak to the education, engagement, and entertainment. Um, do we simply just bullet them, or should we spell out how we can, or give an example of how we can, an example?
Yeah, well, not necessarily example, just what you can expect.
Okay. Yo, this is good, man.
Yeah.
This is good. Because I was still, even though I'm thinking big, I'm still thinking small, because when I was thinking poetry industry, I'm thinking people reach out to poets to perform and to, but still to educate, but not so much infusing poetry into other industries.
Right.
That wasn't my mindset. So my plan is, because I know poets who have expertise.
See that?
Yeah. I know poets who have so they have, degrees and 9-to-5s, right? So one poet I know is a counselor, is a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So with, like you showed me in your press kit, you have the different sessions. Oh, that's where I was going. Because COVID is here, it has showed us that we don't have to be in those buildings to do the workshops now. Like, we can do workshops and team buildings on Zoom for any company, any industry, anywhere.
One more time.
So basically, because of COVID, it opened our eyes to, like, say for instance, if I reached out to a company, if I reach out to a company, all right, you gonna fly me out? I know you want to see me in person, blah 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 blah. Now it's not, so I can hire the poets that live in the other states that have the expertise in engineering. That's also a poet, so he's well versed in engineering, so he can easily
infuse it. That's right.
Yes, tie them together. And so with, like you showed, those different those sessions, and now I got Dr. So and so that will be conducting. Oh my goodness.
Yep. That's where you're leveraging your relationships. You're connecting people and value on purpose. That's what we do. Right here. Right here.
Adding value with poetry on purpose. Yikes. Hey, man, this was a good session, man.
And this one, you got to make sure you get it. Listen, everybody, it has been such a pleasure being on The Poet Life with my brother, Christoph Jenkins. Listen, the poetry industry is getting ready to take place, but at this moment, it's not shameless at all. This is about connecting people and value on purpose. Can you see it? This is the Rogers Connection. I am Dr. Alakia Rogers. The mission and vision of what the Rogers Connection does is we connect people and value on purpose. We transform toxic and unhealthy cultures into thriving productive ones. So what I want to make sure you do is take a moment, visit my website, www.alakia.com, or you can go to therogersconnection.com. Learn a little bit more about what we're talking about when we connect people and value on purpose. God bless you. There you go.
He knows his spill, everybody. And then I do that right there, therogersconnection.com.
Yeah.
So they can see it, because people are visual. Oh, I missed that. What is it again? The Rogers Connection.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Sir, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you carving out some time to talk to me, and I look forward to talking to you again, man.
Likewise, my brother. Take care. God bless you. Have a good weekend. Stay safe.
Love the family, man. Talk to you.
Play back. You got it. Peace out.
Introducing the Poet Life Podcast. Go check it out today on your favorite platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, and the website, thepoetlife.com.
Find a way.